comment. I think that credit card high school program that you guys implemented is great because that's where it starts. It starts where, you know, at the youngest level. My question is for Pamela. Your Each One Teach Many program, has it been modified or can it be modified for high school?
Most definitely. It's written on a 6th grade reading level, so you know, we've had people use it with kids that were 10, and we've had people use it with seniors. A wide range of people. The biggest thing that we did with the program, because it is so basic, is we said take information that's within your community and find a way to use it with the materials that we have in our workbook. No. It's free. It's free.
So anyone can take it.
Yes.
Sorry, let's go over there, and then in the back, Irene after.
Who funds all of these? This is a little new to me, but who funds all of these initiatives? And now you're saying there's been an explosion of this, so who is funding?
Maybe not an explosion. There's been a vast expansion. I don't want to overstate it, but the city agents, for those of us that have been in this field for a while, I've been doing this for about maybe 13 or 14 years, it's like, it used to be very, there are a few people here, there's a smattering of folks, and you would talk about credit reports are being used to deny housing, and they're like, what are you talking about, go away, and you know, and people understand this stuff now. There's predatory mortgage lenders. No, there's just a few bad apples. There's an understanding that there's structural systemic problems out there, and that people don't just need a workshop about how to manage your checking account and go to the bank, but they need tools, you know, for themselves if there is no bank in their community, or if they went to a bank and got, you know, they were provided this predatory loan or a credit card. And so what people found, I think, was that doing these community education sessions, people needed one-on-one assistance. They needed remedies because they'd already entered the system and been abused. And so that's what I mean, that there's now, the clinic didn't exist a few years ago. Our organization started a law project on consumer finance issues. The city started the Office of Financial Empowerment, which then started financial empowerment centers. And there's a growing, you know, the foreclosure prevention world in New York City. There's mortgage counselors and attorneys. That's a whole other realm. So that's, you know, there is this explosion. There is an explosion.
Yeah.
Boom. Yes. But the question was the funding, which is a good one, because I do think that the money for financial education per se, there were foundations, was a hot topic for a long time, and that seems to have dried up by and large in our point of view. I don't know if you all have want to maybe talk about what your funding sources are, or what you think is, you know, where the support for this work is coming from now.
I just concur on the explosion. I spent about 2 or 3 years writing the business plan for the clinic before we started in 2005, and did a market analysis, and there was not a lot. There were a handful of cooperative extensions and certainly banks, and there was Money Smart, of course, and there were
which
some
I don't think
like
changed,
Axiom.
yeah.
No, that's absolutely not. But at least especially maybe for the financial coaching aspect of it, the one-on-one aspect of it, that's definitely what feels like an explosion, not just in terms of, I think, the awareness, but also the services. And then, of course, the need has as well. And so our funding is, about 2/3 of our funding is for our services, the actual services that we're providing. That's with the city. We have a large tax project, a tax preparation and financial coaching project with United Way. And then we also work with the Single Stops. And I know some of you, Axiom works with the Single Stop USA as well. And another and a smattering of other things as well. And then the other third of our budget actually comes from what we call our B2B work. So what I've mostly been talking about are services to consumers, but we also are increasingly called upon other nonprofits to help share what we've learned and the promising practices I think we're starting to establish on how to not just provide these financial development services, but I think we're also developing a little bit of a niche in helping other organizations figure out how to integrate it into their model, whether that's workforce development or domestic violence shelters or housing, free tax preparation. And so our purpose there is not only to help expand the reach of our own mission, but also we're now just getting evidence that we're also improving the impact of the organization that we're working with as well.
I mean, I'll say, you know, our office is funded through taxpayer dollars, city taxpayer dollars. Our initiative, our Financial Empowerment Center initiative, like many of the initiatives that we've launched as sort of pilots, we're charged to go out and find private sector funding. We go out, we find private sector funding to be able to develop these initiatives and to evaluate them, ultimately with a goal to make the public sector case. So where we are right now, we're in the second year of the Financial Empowerment Center initiative, and you know, I think are about to hit throughout them all the 10,000th counseling session, you know, to over 6,000 people. So we're sort of certainly across the board the question of demand and, you know, the people out there and getting it out there and integrating it and, you know, finding people where they are. I think we've really been able to do. Our next, you know, in the next months, you know, our challenge is really going to be to start showing some outcomes. So as May can attest to, you know, there's a huge amount of data points that the partners track that come out of those counseling sessions, and they really, especially with people who are, you know, who come back for repeat visits, what we're really trying to figure out is, are we helping these people, you know, are we helping people to stabilize their finances? Are we moving the needle in one of the areas for which they came in seeking help? So whether it was to reduce their debt, improve their credit score, better, you know, manage their money, start to save, get access to a banking account, are we finding that they're actually hitting those outcomes? And I think in the next year, you know, our challenge is, you know, to start making that public sector case. And the way in which we're going to do it in these very difficult budget times is we have to show that by integrating financial counseling into city service delivery, we're actually going to save the city money. And I think we can show it. I think the, you know, early on programs, I think some of the, you know, places in which we've integrated well with homeless services, I think we're starting to see that we're getting really good outcomes from the population, you know, a very hard to serve population that's going through counseling. They may not look like they have tremendous outcomes when you compare them against other people who have jobs and who are, you know, have steady housing and just needed to sort of brush up here or there. They may not look that good across the client set or the customer set, but when you compare them to their counterparts who are not getting the financial counseling, who are going through those same city services, I think we're going to start seeing some real shifts. And so that's sort of the challenge for us. It's really a data-driven, you know, evaluation-driven thing, and I think that's where a lot of the funding communities' heads are at, is the outcomes piece. So the kind of general delivery of education and, you know, we all know that's good and we all know everybody should do it, I think those days are gone. I think the days now are, the proof is in the pudding. Are people's lives changing? Are we seeing, you know, and I think in the micro enterprise field, there's a perfect opportunity to be figuring out, for the program's health anyways, like, does the financial counseling actually make the borrowers better? You know, and better, you know, are they making their businesses better? Are they, you know, better able because they don't have to worry so much about the money in between the household and the business? Like, I think there's a lot of opportunities even internally in the micro enterprise world to really be testing that. I think, you know, we'd be happy to think about ways to integrate, you know, with, you know, counseling with whatever, you know, programs are there that are out there. But I think there's, I think that's the way to do it, and I think that's the argument that funders most want to hear right now is, you know, this delivery of counseling is going to deliver this, you know, amount of return on investment.